So there's another idea that is not true, admittedly, but on the surface, attractive.
I like it.
We don't do just global politics.
No, we're broad thinkers.
That's why I think this is such a sad ritual and such a limited ritual. I don't want to, I mean, obviously I'm not against giving their due to these poor young kids that had to go to war. Some of them wanted to go, but many had to go.
Yeah.
And were just shot.
Yeah.
You know? That is a very sad thing.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't glorify it, you know, and sort of build a national identity on the glory of the spilt blood of these poor kids who didn't know really what they were doing. They were 20 or
18.
18 even.
Some lied they were 16.
Mm-hmm.
They're child soldiers at that point, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. So I think that's I think most Canadians, if they accepted that point, might not want to embrace that ritual quite as strongly, because that's not really the Canadian way. When people say, "Oh, we stand for, you know, peace. We stand for other things that are certainly less bloody, less militaristic."
There's an article in the Globe and Mail this week. I was really struck by it. It was one of those feature articles by one of their feature writers, and it was making the point that Canada has become much more of a fighting nation over the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. And then the headline or the subline was, and Canadians have learned to love this new identity. But then if you actually read the article, you found out that statistically, most Canadians are still very uncomfortable with this new identity. Mm-hmm. Most Canadians still say they support peacekeeping, etc. Mm-hmm. And not in reconstruction and whatever, and not an actual military engagement like we have in Afghanistan. In other words, the headline was just a lie. I mean, it's a small thing. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised that the Globe lies. Mm-hmm. I mean, I suppose I shouldn't be surprised, but still, just to see bald-faced lies like that in the so-called national newspaper is always.
But it was the lie that was used to justify the engagement.
Yeah,
because nobody would say we just go over there to fight. It was with a supposedly primarily constructive agenda that then had to be backed up by force, and then has now turned into just another war.
Yeah. Yeah, it pointed out that aside from peacekeeping, I mean, you have peacekeeping, which doesn't involve that kind of military engagement, and the other thing is defending the North.
Me too. Good.
And defending the North is another one that, I mean, it's unlikely that we're going to have a military engagement through defending the North. Like, I mean, the Russians aren't going to send soldiers, or that we're going to have like Danes and Canadians shooting at each other over that little piece of rock there that we both claim, whatever island that is. So that's another kind of safe one.
Right.
But Afghanistan is not safe because it requires this kind of quite striking military.
And it's also getting back briefly to Germany. Germany is involved as well, and it's one of the first missions. I think probably the first where there's not peacekeeping, but where there's actually fighting. Mm-hmm. And the German Chancellor actually referred to this, saying that, well, now that we have become a normalized nation after unification and so long after the war, we also have to take more responsibility internationally. Well, that does sound good in one sense.
Yeah.
But if it means just becoming part of wars and imperial wars again, then it's a sad development. Because it used to be taboo among the German elites as well, to have anything to do with sending military abroad, having any German uniforms to see. And it's unfortunate that, again, that has to be the normalization, rather than say, oh, maybe we can do something else since we have had this opportunity to get out of it. But
well, it's a powerful thing, this Remembrance Day. I mean, it's. I mean, you can, in theory, you can say, I support the troops, and that's why I think we should bring them home immediately. That's how I support the troops, by calling on the government to get them the hell out of there. Let's not sacrifice one more person for this, ill-fated agenda. But of course, that's not really part of it. I mean, supporting the troops, as understood, means supporting the mission and supporting the government, or the succession of governments. Liberals were there before, who put us in there, and it certainly has. It got enough assent at upper levels that we're putting a lot more money into it. I mean, there's huge expenditures that have been put into place.
I mean, it is a powerful instrument for anyone who is in government to wield, to get people to support them. And I think it's because when you talk about military and our troops, it is one way in which power, which is diffuse and hard to, is actually made into persons. Here is part of us, Canada, out there, and actually standing as people and being killed. There's no, you never experience or see power. You can't in other, most other areas of life. So it's a very powerful mechanism. I think that has always been used and will be used to cut short discussions and to instrumentalize and mobilize people behind something that they then are not able to think about in any other way. But I've been thinking about what does support our troops mean, and I think it does. I don't think most of these people have any sons or daughters or relatives in the army. Most of them, because there aren't that many.
That's right. It's a pretty small group.
It's not like they have first-hand involvement. Okay, our nephew, John's over there, and so it is that kind of it represents something more abstract.